Hi guys, my name is Christine, and today I'm talking about the most impactful decision you will ever make. Now, of course, life is filled with very impactful decisions, such as when you're a student, it's where you go to school, like where you go to college and places like that, or university. The person you marry is a huge one, right? A really big one that you have to take very careful consideration before deciding on someone to marry, the decision to have kids, things like that. So life is, and of course your career, I mean, that's a huge decision that can impact your life. But today I'm going to be talking in terms of the most impactful decision when it comes to your success and achieving your dreams, because of course this is what this channel is all about. Right, so what is the most impactful decision that you can make when it comes to achieving your dreams, creating success for yourself, and essentially manifesting the life that you want for yourself? Okay, so I believe that the most impactful decision that you can make during this time is when you get to a place where you've had it. Things just have to change. Okay, so you have to get to that place first where things just really have to change, and they have to change now, because that is when change happens. Okay, that is when real lasting change happens. So if you have been, trying certain things for a while, and perhaps you procrastinate a lot, or you find it difficult to motivate yourself, one of the reasons why that may be is because you haven't quite got to the place where you've basically got so frustrated with your life that you haven't got to that place where things really need to change now. I really need to make an impact now. I really need to, create things in such a way that things actually do change, because for whatever reason things are not changing, or they're not changing fast enough. Okay, so the analogy that I always use in this kind of situation is, how would you act and how would you behave if you were starving? Okay, if you hadn't eaten in days and you didn't know when your next meal was going to come from, how would you act? Well, if someone who's desperate, they would go through people's rubbish bins, right, and find food. They'll go behind, fast food restaurants and hope to find scraps of food, right? That is what someone will do when they're desperate for food. Okay, they will do basically anything, even really gross stuff, in order to change their life and to feel full, right? To get that feed, right? To get that food. So you have to, if you want to achieve your dreams, if you want to make lasting change and you want change now, you need to get a little bit desperate. In fact, maybe not even a little bit. Perhaps you need to get a lot desperate to try and find a way out and to change things. Okay. So you need to have that conviction and to get to that place where you've absolutely just had enough and things have to change now and you have to do it now, and to get going basically. And that will motivate you. That's a huge motivator. Like when you're desperate, that is such a huge motivator. Okay. So there are two ways, and I've discussed this quite recently. Is that there are two ways that you can create change, right, and to make things happen for yourself. One of those is hard work, so perspiration, right, perspiring, so sweating, getting down to the nitty gritty and doing hard work. The next one, which is the emphasis of this video, is desperation, right? That's another way that you can create change in your life by being desperate. I remember an occasion not too long ago, actually, within the last few years, where I really needed a part-time job, right? And I was desperate for it. And I got one, and that didn't work out for me. That place, I really hated it there. The people were just horrible. The job was horrible. It was terrible, basically. And I became so desperate to find another job that I was able to find one extremely quickly, right? Because I was desperate, right? And that job was actually a hell of a lot better, and I actually really enjoyed working there. And in fact, it was one of the best jobs I've ever had, right? Even though it was only part-time, So, and that's what kind of confuses me sometimes about people that are finding it hard to find jobs. Like, if you're desperate, you will find a job, right? It wasn't exactly the most high-paying job. It was like one of those kind of basic jobs that pretty much anyone can sort of get into. But it was still a really good job that I enjoyed, and I liked being there. Even though the pay wasn't amazing, it was still, pretty good. It wasn't terrible, right? So, if you have a will, there is a way, right? And if you're desperate, then you will find it, right? And that goes for pretty much anything in this life. If you have the will, there is a way, right? So you need to get desperate, basically, if you are hoping to create change in your life. But it all comes back down to that decision, right? And that's what I'm just talking about in this video, about the most impactful decision that you'll ever make is when you get to the place where you've absolutely had it and you must change, and you have that conviction inside of yourself where you're like, something just has to change and I have to change it now. Okay? So you see this a lot all the time with people that finally give up smoking or drinking or whatever it may be. They have to get to that place. Most people who have those issues have to get to that place where they've absolutely had enough, where they're just sick of themselves, or they're sick of the situation, or they're sick of the habit that they've developed over the years, and they've just had it, right? You have to get to that place, because if you haven't got to that place, it's very unlikely that you're going to make change. It's very unlikely that your life is going to change until you get to that place, right? So how can you cultivate this within yourself then? Because sometimes, you might be thinking, yeah, well, you know what, I'm kind of comfortable. Yeah, I would like things to change, but, I haven't quite got to the place where I've had it, where I've had enough, right? So how can you cultivate this within yourself? Well, I personally think that one of the best ways you can do it is by writing down all of the painful things in your life that will happen and has happened and will continue to happen if you don't make the change. So writing down a list as many as things as possible, and really be detailed and even graphic if you want. Try and disgust yourself, right, to try and make change, right? Because that's what tends to happen to people. Like when they get to that place where they've had it, it's usually when they've been reminiscing about how things are for themselves, how things have been for them, and how it's impacting their life in a negative way, and how it may continue to impact their life in a negative way. Right, and because they're thinking about it constantly and they're stewing over all these horrible things, that's when they're like, oh God, I really cannot stand doing this any longer. Things just need to change, right? So that's kind of like how you cultivate it within yourself, right? Just reminisce about how crappy it is, right? And you will get to that place. And a good way to do that is by writing them down. Like just keep on writing down or journaling about how horrible life is going to be or continue to be if you continue to stay like this. And what will happen is, because what you're using there is you're using pain and pleasure. You're using positive and negative reinforcement. So you're getting the negative, but the positive, right? Because obviously we work better with positive reinforcement. You see it all the time with animals and children. You have to give them positive reinforcement to elicit change most of the time. It's very, very rare that any kind of negative reinforcement will actually change them. So the pull then should be the new habit. It should be the new life. It should be the new things that you're going to do, right? It should be the brighter future. That's what the positive reinforcement is. Let that pull you, right? Because you've got all this negative stuff, right? Obviously, and it's a good idea to dwell on those things so you create enough pain within yourself. But then let the pleasurable things pull you forward, right? And let that be a really bright, lovely, amazing image that you have for yourself. Imagining the future that you're going to have. Imagining how things are going to change for you. Imagining the amount of wealth that you may have, or the new lifestyle that you're going to have for yourself, or the old habits that you're going to break and the new ones that you're going to implement. Right? So it's a good idea to have, a good list of all the painful things, but also ultimately as well a good list of all of the positive things, so that pulls you and that motivates you. Because I don't want you to write down all these negative things and then just sit there feeling awful about yourself. You've got to create a vision too of the future that will make you feel amazing, okay? And that ultimately is the most impactful decision that you can make. You need to get to that place where you've absolutely had it, where things have to change and they have to change now, and then you just go for it, okay? But that's ultimately what I think the most impactful decision that you'll ever make is, especially in terms of success and changing your life and creating the life that you've always wanted. So if you'd like to get in touch with me personally and you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com, and thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.